All the ground first.
Yep.
Palo Alto ground, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, run up complete.
I don't see. There it is.
Short of Yankee 1, contact tower.
Hold short Yankee 1, contact tower, 494 Sierra Papa. Palo Alto tower, Cessna 4 Papa, holding short, yeah.
Oh, you're missing the button. I'll get it. And I'll just try that again. Maybe I have a bad mic switch. Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, holding short Yankee 1.
Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, Palo Alto tower, right Dumbarton, runway 31, clear takeoff. Or right crosswind at your discretion.
Right Dumbarton 31, cleared for takeoff, Cessna 4 Sierra Papa. Okay. Flaps are up, trim is set. Fixtures rich.
Number 1, runway 31, clear land. Traffic to your 11.
You're right there, you're getting brake. You really don't need it.
Miles inbound to transitioning into Moffett, descending at a
Cleared
2,600.
We're cleared for takeoff.
Cirrus 16 Charlie, did you copy?
Can you repeat that, 16 Charlie?
Cirrus 16 Charlie, your number 1, runway 31, clear land. Traffic to your 11 o'clock.
We don't have to come to a stop. You can just smoothly bring the power up and go.
500 is a Skyhawk.
We're number 1 for 31 clear land, and we're looking for the Skyhawk 16 Charlie.
There's 55. And we're in the air at the first taxiway. You can really see if we normally get in by the first,
right.
If we're not off by the second, something's seriously wrong. That's an extra 500 feet.
Crosswind at the outer bridge, runway 31, clear for takeoff, 9 Hotel Zulu.
And unless you're moving the trim, keep your hand on the throttle.
Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, traffic over the train bridge inbound on the 45 is a Diamond Star descending at a 1,600. Once you have them in sight, your right crosswind is approved.
Of course, here, Papa. Roger, we're going to take it up to the bridge before we turn. So they're happy to have us turn right here, and if we turn here and 30 seconds later the engine fails, we're swimming.
Okay.
So they don't get that that's not a safe thing for us to do.
Okay.
Cirrus 16 Charlie, that traffic.
Got your landing light on now?
No factor.
No factor, 16.
Oh.
Okay, good.
Area number 2, fallen a Cirrus approaching the amphitheater, runway 31, clear to land. Number 231, clear to land, 2 in the Sierra.
Why don't I see them? They're now directly under our wing, and I don't see them. Oh, they are almost 2 miles away. All right.
So when you say we're going into marsh, marsh is this thing?
This soft stuff here.
Right there, beneath me?
I can't see what you're pointing at, but all this soft stuff. We can turn now. You want to keep the bridge to your left. So all this at the other end of the bridge, past the train trestle there, or past the drawbridge, that's marsh. It's soft, squishy ground. There's a lot of water content in it. If we were to walk on it, we'd probably sink in a bit. And if we land on it, the airplane will sink in and probably flip over eventually. But you don't drown.
Cessna 152 Uniform Foxtrot, Palo Alto Tower, enter the left downwind for runway 31.
Left downwind for runway 31, Uniform Foxtrot.
Cessna 2 Uniform Foxtrot, just to verify you have ATIS information, Juliet?
Affirmative, Uniform Foxtrot.
Skyhawk 9er Hotel Zulu, your number 3, fallen a Diamond Star, turning right base, runway 31, clear the option.
Number 3, runway 31, clear.
What's our altitude?
9er Hotel.
What altitude are we going?
2,500. And we can accelerate. We're not going to go very far, but You know, we'll pick up a little speed. We'll get out to our practice area a little faster.
Cirrus 16 Charlie, safe parking?
We are hangars 16 Charlie.
Cirrus 16 Charlie, roger. You can taxi to the ramp via Zulu, Yankee 2, Juliet, monitor ground. Have a wonderful night.
Wilco, good night, 16 Charlie.
Still climbing. Try to get us level off where you want us. And if you keep going up high, that indicates that maybe you should try leveling off, starting the level off earlier, or being a little more aggressive and pushing down. And when you see we're high and that's still indicating that we're going up, you need either less power or more nose down. All right, we're clear of the airport, so let's throttle back, 2,000 RPM or so, and we'll make a quick clearing turn and try to hold altitude. You don't want to go up while we're slowing down. You want to maintain altitude. On your flight test, you will be judged as you enter these maneuvers from the altitude at which you start to slow down. So if you pull up 200 feet, you're immediately out of spec. Let's get a quick turn going to the right so we don't take too much space. Okay, throttle back to 2,000 RPM. Otherwise, we're not going to slow down enough. At 2,000, we're still 2,100. We're still 2,100, a little less power. There you go. And we really want to make a good 30-degree bank turn, one for spacing, and two so that the turn is fast enough that nobody can sneak up behind us before we finished our second one. And you can start, notice we're going down now, and pick a heading reference. Diablo is hard to see. Why don't we use the moon? Use the moon as a heading reference.
Just make this a full stop, please, for a possible Nordo aircraft inbound.
Why are you holding left rudder? You're putting us in a skid. So that's a little bit to the right of the nose. Straight ahead is right there. Right? So if my finger is on the moon, now you're pointing at it. And that looks to me straight ahead, too. So that's even a little bit further right to be straight ahead. That's pretty close. All right, so we're going to do some power on and power off stalls. So let's do a power on first because we're low. So pre-landing check first. Gas, mixture, seatbelt. Okay, so we can throttle back even further and slow down in level flight. And just pitch up to maintain level as we slow down. And do you hear us to slow down? We're 2,600, let's hold that. Bring the nose up. And as we get slow, we can go to full power. And let's do a full brake straight ahead.
Brake.
A stall with a full brake straight ahead. Always nice to reset the heading bug so you know where you are. Okay, so start pulling up. And full power. Is this a power on stall? Right? We're not landing, right? You hear the stall warnings on already? We want to begin this with power and then pitch up to a stall.
Okay.
Now you're pushing down. Okay, stop. Okay. We got to discuss what we're trying to do here. So in any stall, I have the airplane for a moment because I need us to stabilize. In any stall, we're trying to slow down first. As we get to something approaching for power on stall, a little bit above rotation speed, we can apply full power and slowly pitch up to our stall and then recover. You don't want to pull up to get to the stall and then add power. We're trying to simulate a climb. Okay? So we're already slowed down, your airplane. You start pulling up just gently and then go to full power. So start bringing the nose up. Now full power. Okay? And now continue to slowly pitch up. There's the stall warning. Okay, good. And that's low enough. Now look how quickly the airspeed's coming up. And you're pushing You don't want to be pushing, right? We went just right through VY. If we have a tree in front of us, you're not going to push down to get up to VY, right? VX, you want to go over it. All right, throttle back and slow down again, and let the nose come down. Let the nose come down. You're holding, oh, you must have a lot of up trim in. Okay. All right, so now you can go to full power, and it'll begin a climbing right turn, and this time, as soon as the stall warning comes on, recover. And you should call it out. You hear it, you say stall warning. Okay, and this, you still got full throttle in, right?
Yes.
Okay, so notice we're at VX, we're accelerating. You don't want to be. VX, you got it under control, stay there. And now we're climbing. All right, let's throttle back and level off. It looks like you're pulling up, or maybe it's the trim. It's probably the trim. So now we're going to do a power off stall landing configuration. I don't know what you're pointing at.
Oh, the traffic.
The jet that's like 6 miles away? Okay, he's 6 miles away.
Okay.
Now, that's not a factor. We got to turn a little left to get out of the airspace. About 30 degrees left ought to do. And let's set up like we're in the pattern on a downwind. You can be aimed just to the right of the hill. Okay, throttle back. We're still climbing and we're slow. So in the pattern, we want to be 75 knots and 10 flaps. So let's get there. And 1900 RPM will get us 75 knots in level flight. .75 knots, 1900 RPM. The RPM's at 17. And trim for 75. Okay. Pre-landing check.
Yes.
All right, let's bring the power back to 1500 RPM. Now we're turning right. We're going to need to turn left now. So let's start a left turn now. Just about 15 degrees of bank. And this would be like we're on a downwind or we're turning base. Let's go to 20 flaps and continue the turn. Now we're looking for 70 knots. Keep the bank shallow at 15 degrees. It gets really hard to stall at the steep bank angles. Okay, now you can go to full flaps and 65 knots. All right, let's go power off and hold 65 knots in this turn. Okay, and let's bring the nose up and get an imminent stall. Okay, that's the mistake. Don't trim up to the stall. It's not what you'll experience in the airplane if you actually inadvertently stall. Bring the nose up. Keep the turn going. It's supposed to be a turning stall. Okay, imminent. We heard the stall warning, recover. Okay, let the nose down on the recovery. Let's stop the turn now. What do we need to do? You're about to hit the trees. Okay, and then what are we doing with the pitch? You're pitching down and accelerating. We're trying to climb. Flaps can come to 20. What speed are we looking for? Sorry, what?
74.
Somewhere between VX and VY we want to be climbing. We don't want to get too slow. We don't want to get too fast. All right, let's turn right towards Lake Elizabeth again. And we can level off. So throttle back, 1900 RPM. And we can go to 75 knots with 10 flaps. What speed are we looking for?
5.
Say again?
75.
Right, so we need to, when we put the flaps down, the nose comes up. So we have to push the nose down and get back to 75. And we're going to be going down a little because the RPM's just a little low. All right, pre-landing check.
Yes.
Okay, and let's turn toward the Quarry Lakes. We'll use that as our heading reference. Roll out here. And just like a normal landing, we power back to normally 14 or 1500 RPM, and we descend at 1500 RPM at 75. Okay. And then we're,
right?
what?
For descent, we put the trim in.
Hold on. What did you say?
Well, so in real life, when we're trying to descend, we put the trim in. So for that to
When we say 75, you trim to be at 75. Any speed, you trim to leave that unless you're pulling the airplane into the stall.
Okay.
Okay, 20 flaps and 70.
Looking for the traffic, one tilt on it.
And then full flaps, we're at 78 and accelerating, so that's too much down trim. We can go full flaps and 65. Now, just looking out the window, to me, that's too nose high. We're going to be slow. Sure enough, 62. So part of what we're doing here is getting an idea of what this looks like. Okay, we can go power off, hold 65 knots, and we're going to bring the nose up to a full stall. So nice and slow, slowly bring the nose up. Keep bringing it up. You want to see movement, but not fast. Keep bringing it up. What do you hear? Call it every time you hear it. Get a full break, hold it up, there's a break, and recover. So you really need to trim between flap usage, because otherwise you accelerate instead of climbing, and you hit the trees and get killed. You gotta climb, right? Climb is what's important on the stall recovery.
Okay.
All right, my airplane,
Your
and you have way too much up trim here. You're trying to hold a pitch or hold a speed, and no pressure. Now I'm gonna climb up a bit to do our accelerated stall and cross-control stalls. And I'm just doing a bit of a clearing turn and getting out of the way of the jets approaching Oakland. I go up to 3,000. All stalls are, whenever you hear the stall warning, you call it out, or if you feel something like the buffet, you call it out. And we recover into a climb with minimum loss of altitude and not excessive speed. And if you can, you keep it below VY or between VX and VY. Anything faster than VY, you're losing more altitude than you need. All right, so we're going to do, I'm going to do a very quick clearing turn here. So a quick turn left. And a quick turn back to the right. That's a fast clearing turn, right? We've cleared the area. All right, so we're going to do a stall clean, flaps up, power off, and see where the stall warning comes on and see where it actually stalls. This is establishing a reference for us for the accelerated stall, which we'll do next. So I'm going to try to slow down really slowly so we give the stall warning plenty of time to come on. Came on right at 60. We're getting a little shake. That's Buffett. See the airspeed wiggle? We're right at the edge of a stall, and 42, right? Came on at 60, stalled at 42. So we'll climb back up, and we'll turn away from the Class Bravo. We're getting another clearing turn done here. I'm just going to turn a little because the stall itself is going to have a lot of turn in it. All right, so this time we're going to set up around a 30 to 40 degree bank, power off, and we'll see where the warning comes on and where the stall occurs. So power to idle. So we're up at 75, and we're going to roll into a turn, put the speed up, and now I'm going to bring the stick back. Stall warning came on at 66. And there it is, we stalled at 48. You see that? So we showed there that is in the turn with some G, the stall speed is higher. So we'll have you do those.
Okay.
So let's turn right, and turn right all the way to Lake Elizabeth. And turn now, please. A little more right rudder with that much aileron. And nose up, we're trying to climb and not accelerate. So instead, we're going down and accelerating. Okay, there's 3,000. You can throttle right back to about 1,700 RPM. And let's accelerate a little bit so we're not really close to stall speed, and trim here. Okay, you can bring the power, we've done a clearing turn, you can bring the power to idle and let the airplane glide for a few moments so you're stable. Let the nose come down, we're trying to just let it glide. Power off. Power off, it's not off yet. Okay, cool, we're aiming at those little white lights there, right? So now start to bring the nose up slowly, and we'll watch to see where the airspeed, where the stall warning comes on. Really slowly. See how that's moving nice and slow? That's what we're looking for. Just nice, slow decrease. Stall warning at 59 to 60. There's a shake. Watch that airspeed wiggle. We're right on the edge of stall. And boom, 42 knots we stalled. Okay, put the power in, we'll climb back up. Just like that, you're pushing down, right? Look at the airspeed going up. Let it climb. Nose down a little so we don't get too slow, but initially let it climb a bit. That's the whole idea, is to go up. Okay, we can throttle, we can start throttling back and level off. And this time we'll do a right turn, because I did a left, you can do a right. So throttle back. You can go throttle all the way to idle and let the nose come down so we maintain speed. And let's go in a little bit steeper than a 30-degree right bank turn. And you can start just pulling the nose up a little so we don't pick up too much speed, and that's a good bank angle. And now just slowly bring the nose up and watch the airspeed come down. I'm helping you a little bit. See the stall warning came on at 72?
Yeah.
Keep pulling. Pulling. We're at 59. And there's it's wiggling. And there it's wiggling again. And there's the stall at 55. You see it? Okay, let's recover. And where are we? We're pointing towards Leslie Salt. Yeah, we can turn a little further right. How do you feel?
I feel okay.
All right, good. So that's our accelerated stalls. And again, the goal is to understand and know that in a bank, the stall speed is higher. But you also see that it took quite a bit of pull to get us there.
Yeah.
The steeper the bank, as long as you're not trimmed for it, the harder you have to pull to stall the airplane. All right, my airplane. So we've just done another accelerated stall, and now we've done accelerated stalls. Now we're going to do cross control stalls, which means one wing down in one direction with aileron and rudder in the other direction. And we're going to start with a slip. We'll do it power off. So we got plenty of space on the airspace, so I'm going to go power off. And we're going to put the right wing down and left rudder and establishing a slip. And I'm going to go to full left rudder. So this is as much of a slip as you can do. And I'm just holding heading. I'm looking out at the horizon. As we slow down, we need probably a little more bank. Watch what happens. There's a stall warning. And there's a stall warning some more. And the airplane is stalled. And look at this. It's not doing anything. It's turning a little, and I still have aileron control. Very benign. Nothing happens. All right, let's take it the other way. We'll climb back up to 3,000. So with rudder toward the high wing, it's very benign. The stall warning comes on, just lower the nose and you've recovered. So this time we're going to do it the other way, and we're going to go up just a little higher. Since I haven't installed this airplane in a while and it's got vortex generators, maybe an extra 500 feet would be a good idea. In theory, it should recover faster with vortex generators, but because it's a bit of an unknown to me, we'll go a little higher.
So, since we're climbing, one question.
Yeah?
When you did the turning stall, what was the previous one?
The accelerated stall?
The accelerated stall, right? I noticed you were not coordinated. Like a little
Because
bit.
it was not a little bit. It was as much uncoordinated as I could make. Oh, wait a second.
Previous one.
Sorry, the previous one. I might have been a little uncoordinated, right?
So I was like, wouldn't that make the plane spin?
Did it spin?
No.
Then it doesn't.
Okay.
You have to have. Well, this is not the time to talk about it. We can talk about that later.
On the ground.
All right. So now we did a cross control stall with the rudder toward the high wing. Now we're going to do it with the rudder toward the low wing, and this is a skid, right? More rudder than turn rate. So we're back into a glide. So we'll set up a right turn, and I'm going to go right rudder and left aileron. This is something, if you ever notice this, say, hey, wait a minute, I shouldn't be doing this. So I got full right rudder and left aileron, and we're coming up to the stall. And what happens is we get here, and the airplane starts rotating really fast. You see this? This is an incipient spin entry. It's not too bad, really. If I do it a little faster, it'll be worse. And maybe it won't be too bad in this airplane. Let's see. No, it really isn't too bad. It's an incipient entry. But we can just bring the nose down. The airplane starts flying. The speed comes up. You can put the power in and go. In some airplanes, it would break right over into a spin. Let me turn these lights down a little bit. And now we'll have you do these. So, since I know the airplanes behave, well, I haven't one done to the left, so let's climb back up to 3.5. And let's make a left turn back towards Coyote Hills. Easy on that roll rate, right? We're fairly slow, and we're trying to climb. The more we bank, the less we climb. So since I did them to the right, you'll do them to the left, and we'll know how this airplane operates in both directions. All right, we can level off, throttle back. We can go all the way to throttle to idle slowly. All the way to idle, and let the nose come down, let the airplane glide. Power all the way off, and hold the nose up a little, and we don't want to turn right, that'll take us toward Oakland. So put the airplane left wing down, you can use a little trim if you need it, and right rudder. And we're trying to fly a straight line, so slowly bring all the right rudder in, foot to the floor, all the way, see that? And bank angle to stop the turn. Just keep us straight. Now we'll bring the nose up. And this is a cross-controlled stall out of a slip. There's the stall warning. There's some buffet. Just hold us here. Wait, hold us here. Right? And the airplane just sits here. Not much happens. Not even turning very quickly. Okay, ease the nose down and recover. Good. Okay, now full power and climb. All right, we can nose back down, pick up a little speed, and we can go to throttle idle again. All the way to idle. And let's make a coordinated turn to the left. So we're just setting up a left turn. And now bring in left rudder and right aileron to keep the bank angle the same. Power all the way off or you're going to get a big surprise. So bring that left rudder in all the way and right aileron to hold the bank angle. Okay, that's full left rudder. I'm helping you the pressure. Now bring the nose up. We'll keep just a little more bank angle. And as we get here, you see how it's starting to rotate?
Yeah.
That's the spin entry, but not bad. Okay, let's recover. Full power, let the nose come up. Okay, you see how you're going up to 90 knots? You gotta bring the nose up. That's the critical thing. Out of bank angle here for a climb. You're pulling up way slow. Now, I can show you what it looks like if it's worse, and we get a spin entry. You don't have to. I don't have to do that if you don't want. It's a bit disorienting. What do you think? Let's level off no matter what. Throttle back, level off.
I think I got enough for today.
Okay. Do you want to go do some passes, or you're done flying for the day? We have to turn right now, though. Can we try a few passes down the runway at Hayward and see how it feels, or do you want to go home? You should open up the windows. That'll make you feel better.
Well, let's do it next time.
All right?
I don't want to throw up, so...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So let's level off and bring the throttle back a little bit. Let's just take a moment. Get my sunglasses off so it's not so dark outside. I'll take the airplane for a second. You want to open up the window and give yourself a good blow? Stick a hand out and get wind in your face. That's the best thing. That a little better? Your airplane? I gotta move your mic back down. Okay. So, I'm good to go home if you want to go home, or low passes at Hayward. You tell me. And no pressure, right? This is all. This is customer service. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Let's go home for today.
Okay. So let's make we can make a right turn. We'll get the ATIS.
Feedback, hold short instructions and runway assignment. Advise ground control of departure request. Advise on this contact, you have information Juliet. Delta time information Juliet, time 0047 Zulu. Wind 310 at 10. Visibility 10. Sky clear, temperature 182.9, around altimeter 3000.
No change.
Runway 31 approaching use, landing and departing runway 31.
We can roll out.
As this weather information available on flight service frequencies.
Just ease the nose down. We'll pick up a little speed.
Feedback, hold short instructions and
You can even push the power up a little.
departure request. Advise on this contact, you have information Juliet.
I'll get the wind one more time. Altimeter was 3000.
But we got
Wind 310 at 10.
Straight down the runway. Okay, so we can nose down. We can start descending, and 2200 RPM at 110 knots gives us a good descent. But don't push it all the way up to 22, because as we speed up, it'll come up by itself. On nose down, we're still slow. We're looking for about 110 knots. Just bring the nose down a little at a time and we'll accelerate.
Right downwind for runway 31. Verify you said 80 information, Juliet?
Roger, we got Juliet, and enter midfield for runway 31.
Keep nosing down to 110. You want to call in, or should I?
yes, I can call it.
Okay.
So
we're Leslie Salt.
Information.
Juliet.
Yes.
We're landing.
Okay, and we
You're
are
on tower.
Palo Alto Tower, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa with information Juliet over Leslie Salt, inbound for landing.
Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, Palo Alto Tower, proceed midfield right downwind for
Hold on. Request standard 45 for Sierra Papa.
4 Sierra Papa, approved as requested.
Thank you. Just FYI, that just keeps us over dry land longer. Over the middle of the bay low, we'll have an engine problem, we're in trouble.
Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, roger.
All right, so we're still not at 110, we're barely descending. So a little more nose down, and the RPM will come up, and then we'll have our nice Steve's descent profile. That might have been a little too much. There you go. So we're slowing down and we're not descending. So a little more nose down and maybe just a touch less power. Look outside. We just nose down like that much. That's huge. Just a couple of degrees is plenty. See how much speed we picked up? Now the nose is coming back up again. Okay, you need a little down trim maybe.
45 over the train bridge at 1,800.
Maybe a little less power. We're just a little high in our profile.
Skyline 13 Charlie, did you copy that?
Copy that, 13 Charlie, looking for traffic.
We'll be wing up over the railroad bridge in about 5 seconds. Okay, roll into the turn and watch him call in sight, although he's pretty far behind us. Let's get a nice big wing up so he can see us.
Approaching Lake Elizabeth, electricity inbound for a close
Now he should see us, and we can roll out right here.
13 at 9 Pop Sierra Palo Alto Tower, make right traffic runway 31.
Make right traffic, runway 31, 139 Papa Sierra.
We're still just a little high, so 100 RPM less. And that's how we like to do stuff, is just 100 RPM at a time.
Head from the train bridge, follow that guy in, we don't have it like in view.
Cessna 13 Charlie, you can continue midfield if you like. They're going to be approaching in the downwind beam the 13 numbers.
Roger, I'm not seeing any lights, that's why I want the Charlie.
We got them all on. We're just about 10 seconds from it being the 1-3 end.
Roger, I see you now. Traffic is tight, 13 Charlie.
See how I helped them find us? It's a nice technique.
Have we turned?
Yep.
Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, number 1, runway 31 to land.
You answer that? Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, number 131, clear to land. So our power's a little lower than we'll need for level flight, but we won't need it for long. So we're below 110, 10 flaps.
Roger.
Little forward pressure and trim. We're looking for 75 knots. You don't need much forward pressure, right? Okay, we're aimed toward the runway. We got to be parallel to it. We can bring the power back to 1400 RPM. We're looking for 75 knots in the descent. We're a little late for it, but pre-landing check, gas on both,
Gas.
mixture rich, seat belts, I'm giving you a little left aileron because we're getting a little close to the runway. We can turn base and bring the nose up just a little for 75 knots.
Negative 05 Romeo.
Cessna 05 Romeo, if you make that left turn and then just proceed direct to the sunken ship, your 45 is approved for Oakland.
A little more bank angle.
45 approved for Oakland 05 Romeo.
Hey, how we looking? We are right on altitude, so 20 flaps. We're probably a little fast. No, right on speed. That's good. Turning a little too quickly. We're going to be lined up on the right side of the runway. So you could just level the wings here. And now we're flying a crab to the center line. I'm not touching anything. Speed's perfect. And as the end of the runway goes below the nose, even a little bit before, right about now we can go to full flaps. And we bring the nose down to 65. Notice we're on the left side of the center line. So just a little right. It was a tiny bit of right wing down and rudder to keep the airplane pointing down the center line. We're a little bit to the left of the center line, so a tiny bit of right wing down. We're a little slow, so let's get that nose down. Now power can go off. We got to bring the nose up to level us off. And we just hold this left wing down until we get a nice touch on one wheel. The other wheel touches, you can go to the brakes and pull the stick back. And we're going to go all the way to the end, which is fine. Actually, I think we're going to go to, I'm not sure if we have one more turn off here. No, we're going to go to the end. Left at the end, contact ground on Zulu, Cessna 40 Papa.
Cessna 05 Romeo, traffic to your 2 o'clock. About 2 miles entering midfield is a Diamond Star at 1,200. They should be no factor.
Oh, looking 05 Romeo.
Right. And let's make sure we get our landing light off so we're not pointing it in this guy's face. Landing and taxi off. And strobe off too, because we don't need to be blinding him with that. Good. So post-landing checklist. After landing.
Landing flat top. Mixture lane.
Charlie. Now, altitude, your discretion. Do you have another Charlie shelf that's to your 12 to...
Ground 1250.
About 2 miles.
Well, no, it's not. It's on 2535. Okay, and now call ground. We're not clear to taxi yet. Tell them we're clear the runway and taxi. Taxi to Cable Rose.
Palo Alto ground, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa. Clear the runway, requesting taxi to Cable Rose.
Good.
494 Sierra Papa, Palo Alto ground, taxi to ramp via Zulu, Yankee 2, suggest Juliet.
Taxi via...
Taxi to ramp via Zulu, Yankee 2, Juliet, Cessna 4 Sierra Papa. And if 1713 Charlie turns off, we'll let him go first, though, but he's going to the end. Okay. You're welcome. I'm self-controlling.
So what was Zulu in his...
This is Zulu. This is taxiway Zulu.
Okay.
So the standard phraseology, which you'll find at just enough airports to screw you up for when you go to an airport where it isn't standard, is Zulu is the parallel to the main runway. Yankee is the taxiway parallel to Zulu. And they're connected by numbered taxiways. Yankee 1, Yankee 2, Yankee 3.
Okay.
At least that's the schema. Does it always hold? No. So you always want to be careful, because if you expect it to be true, it won't be. Which is why we have stuff like this, that hopefully, of course this one, actually, yeah, this part's right. The other parts aren't right. We're coming up on Yankee 2, so now you'd need a little brakes to slow down.
To ground, Skyline 1713 Charlie on Zulu, requesting taxi back to Cable Road 3.
Little more brakes before we get there.
Taxi to ramp via Zulu, Yankee 2, suggest Juliet.
Zulu, Yankee 2 and Juliet back to Cable Road 3.
It's always good to be ready for a problem. So if we're coming up on a taxiway, we want to slow down right before we get there. So if we hit the brakes and they don't work for some reason, that we're not at a point where we're screwed if they don't work. And they might not work for something really innocuous. For instance, if you're wearing big shoes in some airplanes and your feet are too high up, they'll hit some bars up there and you can't get on the brakes. Nothing wrong with them, your feet can't reach them. So we want to be in a position where if something that we need works and need to work doesn't work, that we don't get in trouble if we can't figure it out for a few seconds. And that means, we don't get every last bit of performance out of the airplane, but we have a little margin for something goes wrong. And stuff goes wrong. I think I mentioned the Cirrus with its castoring nose wheel has a big problem if one brake stops working. Because then you can't steer, because steering is with differential brakes, and you can't stop. So you can sort of pivot around a circle, but you can't come to a straight line stop. So the Cirrus manual says if you detect any problems with a brake, not working 100%, come to a stop right now and get out and move the airplane by hand. So one of my colleagues told me a story about being up at Truckee or something with his student Cirrus, and the student calls out, "Hey, I got no brakes." And the instructor hits the brake pedals and both pedals just go flat. Just reaches over, pulls the mixture, and they're along for the ride. They got within a few feet of hitting a Gulfstream jet. When the airplane rolls to a stop and they start breathing again, he says, "When did you notice you had a problem?" He says, "Well, I felt the brakes were a little squishy, so I've been pumping them a little." It's like, "You've been doing what?" You read the manual, they get out, and each place where the guy pumped the brakes is a little puddle of hydraulic fluid. One brake line broke, and he was pumping hydraulic fluid overboard until there wasn't any left. That's kind of why I don't like castoring nose wheels. Among other, there's more reasons too.
Only Cirrus has those?
Nope, it's the popular thing on new airplanes. So the Diamond Star has it, what else? The Cessna 162 Skycatcher. It's common on all the old Grummins are that way. The Cessna Corvallis has that. It's a trade-off for less drag, less weight, more speed, but it has its downside.